Biggest tip of all, tip number one, and this is the most important thing when it comes to your black tank, is hey guys, Mike from RVBlogger here in front of the camera, and Susan's behind the camera. And today we're going to be talking about our best tips for how to maintain and take care of your RV black tank and sensors. Now, most folks, if they own an RV, they have one black tank and one gray tank. We actually own two RVs. Our Class C RV at home that we let our adult kids use has one black and one gray tank in it. But our Class A RV that we travel around in most of the time has two bathrooms. So we have a black and a gray tank for the front bathroom, and then we also have a black and gray tank for the back bathroom. So all together, we have three gray tanks and three black tanks. So we kind of know what we're talking about when it comes to maintaining your RV's tanks. And one of our rigs, our Class C, sits at home in the driveway quite a bit, and our Class A is on the road all the time. And so some of the things that we do differently depending on which RV we're talking about, and how that translates to you is, what kind of a camper are you? If you're more of a weekender, we're going to cover how you handle those things. And if you're more of a person that's on the road quite a bit like we are, then you can do things a little bit differently. So let's get started with our tips that we've learned along the way. And the biggest tip of all, tip number one, and this is the most important thing when it comes to your black tank, is use a lot of water. Use tons and tons of water. Every time you use the bathroom, fill the toilet up with water and flush it down into your black tank. It'll help make sure that nothing gets stuck inside your black tank. It'll avoid you having the big poop pyramid where you get a pyramid of poop inside your black tank. And that the main reason for that is because most folks don't have enough water inside their black tank to help all that poo disperse throughout your black tank, if you will. So the number one tip that we have for folks is make sure your tanks have a lot of water in them. And we'll cover that a little bit more as we work our way through the tips. So you'll know exactly when to add water, and some other important tips about winterizing as well. But the main thing you have to keep in mind is use a whole lot of water. Now, the next big tip involves toilet paper. Do you need to use RV toilet paper in your rig? Now, when we first started RVing, that's what we did. We used only RV toilet paper that was septic safe and all that stuff. And then over the years, we've sort of relaxed that policy a little bit, and we just use whatever's most comfortable now. And that seems to have worked out really well for us. Now, there are numerous videos on YouTube that show people using various tank treatments and things to get the toilet paper to break down and things along those lines, but really not much of that stuff matters if you use a lot of water, which I mentioned in the first tip. So if you use a lot of water in your tank, you can use any toilet paper that you want. It really won't matter. Now, I have had folks that own septic clean out companies email me or respond in the comments of our YouTube videos that, hey, you do need to use that product. They've done tons of septic tanks where it was all clogged up with toilet paper. If they had only used septic safe toilet paper, it would have worked out better. And I think there's a big difference between a home septic tank and your RV. Your home septic tank doesn't move anywhere. It doesn't jostle around. It doesn't get dumped every now and then. You have that thing cleaned out every 6 months to a year. Your RV gets dumped all the time. Every time you use it, you're going to dump your tank very quickly when you're done. And so the toilet paper's not going to sit in your tank and coagulate and cause clogs and problems for you. So in our experience, we found that it really doesn't matter what kind of toilet paper that we use. Now, there are a couple of exceptions to this. The one big exception to it for us is when we go boondocking. When we boondock, now we're on the road and we don't have any hookups for at least a week or more. That's what we consider boondocking. Then we don't let any toilet paper at all go down our toilets. We still use toilet paper. We just don't let it go down into the toilet, because what we find is the toilet paper is what creates poop pyramids more than the poop itself. And so we just avoid using toilet paper when we're boondocking and we know we're not going to have an opportunity to dump our tanks for a week or so. So in that particular case, we actually use doggy bags for picking up dog poop. We'll put our toilet paper into those, tie them off, and throw them in the trash can. The great thing about using doggy bags is no smell comes out. And so it doesn't make our rig stink at all. It's really, really fantastic. But for you weekend warriors and folks that are full-time, if you're regularly camping from pedestal to pedestal, or you always have hookups, you don't have to worry about that at all. Our next tip is to use a good black tank treatment product. Now, we've used a few over the years, but our good friend Matt from Matt's RV Reviews started a new company called Liquefied a couple of years ago. And so we started using Liquefied. We love Matt, so we support everything he does. We're great friends together. And so he's come up with this line of products, which we think is really terrific. We've been using it for a couple of years. So Matt's Liquefied comes in 2 scents, either lavender or orange. Comes in a liquid form, or you can just get these pods and you just drop a pod down your toilet and there you go. Or you use this little device here that fills up with liquid and you pour that into your toilet and there you go. You've got your tank treatment down through your toilets into your black tank, and that'll help keep odors from coming up into your RV. And it also helps to break down waste, especially toilet paper, and it just makes dumping so much easier. And so if I were you, I'd head on over to Matt's Liquefied and try it out for yourself. It is really, really terrific. And we've used quite a few of them. We've used AquaChem and Happier Camper and Unique. We've used a whole bunch of them, but we really like Matt's Liquefied the best. And over the past couple of years that we've been using Matt's Liquefied, by the way, we had our tanks professionally cleaned. And we received an A grade on all 4 of our tanks in our RV, but both of our black tanks for sure got A grades on them, and we've been using Matt's that whole time. We've also been using plenty of water, and we haven't really cared what kind of toilet paper that we've used. So that's my big recommendation there. A good tank treatment will help keep things broken down so everything flushes out of your tanks much easier. Our next big tip for taking care of your black tanks is to flush them regularly. Now, older RVs and newer RVs are a little bit different. Newer RVs come with a port where you can just hook up a garden hose and flush out your black tank. It's very, very convenient. We have one here and one for our other black tank where I can just take a hose, hook it up right here, and this will flush water into our black tank, and that water will sort of swirl around. It'll cover the sides of the tank and wash away any remaining debris, and then we can dump that, and then I will fill it again and do it one more time. But you'll be surprised how much crap comes out of your black tank after you've initially dumped. After you initially dump it and then you fill it again to flush it, a lot more stuff comes out. So one of our biggest secrets that we use to get A's on our tanks is that we flush them regularly. Now for older RVs, and maybe some newer ones too, they don't have this built-in tank flush system. And so like our Class C RV is a 2008, it doesn't have a separate flush system. So we had to buy what's called a Rhino Blaster, and the Rhino Blaster attaches right to where your sewer tank outlet is, and then you can use a garden hose, and the Rhino Blaster will force water up into your black tank from down below here. I recommend you buy the Rhino Blaster with a gate valve. They sell them without the gate valve, but I don't know why. In my opinion, they're completely useless. The reason you need the gate valve is because when you close the gate valve, the water goes in and fills the tank and it can't come back out and drain into the sewer line. So you want that tank to fill. Another really important thing to use is a water meter on your hose, because I have a 40-gallon black tank, and so if I've got a little meter on my hose, then I know when I've put close to 40 gallons in the tank. The last thing you want to do is overfill your black tank to the point where water comes out of the toilet into your bathroom and it's all over the floor and you have made a gigantic mess. So get yourself a little water meter when you're filling your black tank, and you'll save yourself a lot of hassle. And you can use that tank meter whether you have the newer flush system or you have the Rhino Blaster in an older style RV or in an RV that doesn't have the flush system. Now, how often should you do this? Well, it kind of depends on how often you RV. If you're a weekend warrior and you use your RV you know, once a month in May, June, July, August, and September, then I would flush my tank after I RV'd every single time, because you don't want to allow a month to go by with any crap or crud inside of your black tank that's going to become sludge over time. Once that stuff hardens, it becomes very difficult to flush it out. And so the idea is to flush it out immediately. If you travel a lot like we do, it's not as important. We don't have to flush every single time we dump our tanks, but every couple of weeks I'll go through and give them a good flush just to make sure everything gets out of there. Now, I can already hear you guys sending me comments on YouTube right now. You can't hook up your freshwater hose to here because you know you could infect your freshwater system. That is very, very true. On the newer RVs that have the tank flush here, there is no backflow preventer here at all. So you do not want to take your freshwater hose from your RV and hook that thing up to your tank flush system. You do not want to do that. What you would do is after we dump our tanks and I want to flush, I'll just stop by the dump station and get the garden hose there, which is non-potable, non-drinking water, and I'll hook that up and I'll flush my tank out with that hose and that water, because no one's going to use that for drinking. It's very, very safe. If you use the Rhino Blaster method, the Rhino Blaster has a backflow preventer built into it. So it's actually okay to use your freshwater hose or a garden hose on there, because no wastewater can ever go backwards and into your freshwater system. So with the Rhino Blaster, it's fine to go ahead and use your freshwater system to go ahead and flush out your tank. Now, our next big tip has to do with whether or not you should leave your gray tank or your black tanks open while you're camping. And the way we do things, it's really, really simple to remember. You always leave your black tank closed, no matter what. And then your gray tank, that kind of depends on how you're camping. So, for example, if we were just going away for a weekend, we're going away Friday to Sunday, going to come home Sunday, going to dump the tanks Sunday morning. In that case, I would leave our gray tanks closed for the weekend. And that way it gives time for the black tank to fill with liquid and the gray tank to fill with liquid. So on Sunday morning, when it's time to dump, I can pull my black tank first. Always empty your black tank first. And then when it's done draining, I will close it, and then I'll pull the gray tank and allow that soapy water from showers or from washing dishes in the kitchen. That water will flush out everything out of your hose and actually clean your hose up a bit for you as well. Now, if we were going to go camping for a longer period of time, let's say we are at 1,000 trails for a couple of weeks, well, that's a different scenario. I still keep the black tanks closed, always, and then the gray tanks in that scenario I would leave open, and that's just so that we have the convenience of being able to take nice long hot showers and never worry about the gray tank filling up. We can get our laundry done and not worry about overflowing the gray tank from that. It just gives us more convenience when we're stationary for a while. Now, in that scenario, after 2 weeks, our black tanks are going to be pretty full. I might have to come dump the tanks after 1 week. And what I would do in that scenario is a day or two before I know I'm going to dump my black tanks, I will close my gray tanks, allow them to fill with water. So when I do go out and pull the black tank to dump it, I've got some gray water that after I'm done dumping the black tank, I can open the gray tank up and let that water flush my line out. The reason you want to keep your line flushed is because if you have human waste in your line and then you leave your gray tank open, you could get some of that odor, up into your RV, and you never ever want to let that happen. And so if you fill your gray and your black, it allows you to flush everything out so that you can open up your gray again for the second week of your camping spot, and then you can enjoy the convenience of that as well. Now, if you're going to do that, one kind of bonus tip I'll throw in here is that you should create what's called a trap in your outdoor sewer hose. And all that means is from the height up here where my black tank dumps out, the hose goes down and hits the ground, and then it has to go up again and onto my sewer supports. And what happens is this entire piece of hose right here that's laying on the ground stays filled with water. And that way, any smells that are coming up this hose from the main septic system in the campground can't get past this water in my hose and then up into the RV, either the gray tank or the black tank. And so I recommend highly that you make a little trap with your sewer hose, and that helps to keep all the smells from coming up into your RV. Our next tip is to always make sure that we have, or you have, water in your black tank. There's a number of reasons for this. First of all, you always want to make sure you have water in your black tank so that the seals that are inside the system stay moist and they don't fail over time. And the other reason is that the water that stays in your black tank also keeps any sludge from forming in there. And once that sludge forms and it becomes hard, it's really, really difficult to get it out of there. So how do you make sure you have water in your black tank 24/7, 365? Well, what we do is, excuse me, after we're done dumping our tanks, we do take a minute and go ahead and fill the black tanks with about 5 gallons or so of water. You can do this a number of ways. You can carry a bucket in and dump it down your toilet. You can go ahead and turn on your tank flush system and fill up from here, or just leave your valve closed, and that will add water into your black tank. Or you can go inside and just stand on the pedal to your toilet and just let water run down there. The problem with doing that is that your valve is open for like 5 minutes, so some smells could come up into your RV. So that's probably the worst method to use, but it is a method that you could use. Now, if you store your RV over the winter, it's also essential that when you're winterizing your rig, you can't put water in it then, because you don't want water in your black tank that could freeze. But what I do is I put antifreeze. I just dump a couple of gallons, a few gallons of antifreeze down each of my toilets, and that way I've got liquid inside of my black tank when if I need to winterize, which this winter I did need to winterize. We went home for the holidays, and so it got pretty cold in December in Maryland, and so I had to winterize the rig. So I just dumped antifreeze down my toilets in addition to winterize the whole rig, and now I've got that liquid in the black tank that keeps all the seals and gaskets from getting dry rotted and old, and it keeps things from freezing up as well. So in either one of those situations, the best course of action is to always make sure you have water in your black tank. Now, our last tip is really pretty important, and that is to deep clean your tanks every so often. Now, what do I mean by that, and how often do you have to do it? Well, it all depends on how you camp. Now, for folks that are more full-time-ish like we are, we can get away with deep cleaning our tank probably every 2 to 3 years. You know, and when I say deep cleaning it every 2 to 3 years, that would be where we hire a tank cleaning service to come in, and we would pay them around $250, and they'll go professionally clean our tanks out for us. If you're full-time, every 2 to 3 years should be fine for doing that, because you are constantly and hopefully maintaining your tanks all the time. You're using lots of water, you're flushing them regularly, doing all the things you're supposed to do so that you won't have all this buildup, and having them professionally cleaned every few years will be fine. In between that, we also use Matt's tank and sensor cleaner, and this is a great product. So about every 6 months or so, we'll just go and fill our black tanks, dump a bottle of this down the toilet. You just let it sit for anywhere from 24 to 72 hours. It'll sort of remove any sludge buildup that's happened in there, and then when you dump your tanks, all of that is gone, and it's a great product for that. For you weekend warriors, you know, you probably don't have to worry so much about deep cleaning your tanks all the time, but you have to deep clean them every winter before you store your RV, or if you're going to store your RV for a long time, whether it's summer or winter, it's a great idea to go ahead and deep clean your tanks. And you can use Matt's Liquefied for that as well, or you can pay $250 and have a professional show up and do it for you. But either way, it makes sure that you decrease the amount of sludge buildup when you're not using your RV. So those are all the tips that we've used over the past several years that have helped our black tanks to stay clean and smelling fresh I wouldn't really say smelling fresh, but keep odors out of the RV anyway. And we hope that they can help you out as well. And if you do anything differently, we would absolutely love to hear from you in the comments down below, or if you have any questions about anything that we covered in the video today, leave them in the comments down below. Susan and I try to read all of your comments and answer them all. It's a big job, but it's the first thing we do every morning. We really love to hear from all of you, and we're more than happy to share any information that we have. And speaking of sharing information, you know, we have some wonderful resources that are available out there. One of them is our private Facebook group called RV Camping for Newbies. We invite you to join that group where you can just learn tons of information, not only from us, but from your fellow RVers as well. It is a terrific community of over, I don't know how many people are in there now, over 152,000 people that share everything from tips and tricks on how to maintain your RV, to fix things when they're broken, to recipes, to best campgrounds, you name it. You can find it somewhere in the Facebook group. And it's just a lot of fun to get in there and converse with other people and have a good time. And we also send out weekly newsletters that are just chock full of articles and videos that cover RV maintenance and the RV lifestyle in general. And of course, you'll get all of our RV reviews too. But we encourage you to sign up for our newsletters too. And you can just go right on over to RVblogger.com. Right on the homepage, just scroll down halfway. Go ahead and fill out your first name and your email address, and that's it. You'll be signed up to get all of our newsletters. We also send out discounts. We work with a lot of different brands, and they all give us discounts to give out to our viewers and subscribers. So if you want all of that information that we are more than happy to share with you, we've got a couple of great ways for you to interface, not only with us, but other members of the RV community as well. And if you'd like to see even more information about some great tips for RVing, just click the box down below, and Susan and I will see you in the next video.